please remain standing. Go ahead, sir.
I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask you to remain standing. A few days ago, we celebrated Memorial Day, and today is 81 years from 6/6/1944 of D-Day. So let's remember all the people that gave their lives on that day. Thank you. We'll have a law enforcement report. Check your minutes while we're getting our reports.
Good morning. My name is Matt Longini. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the lieutenant of the North Region. I'm here with Captain Dieter. He's the Captain Dieter Joseph, of the North Region with me. We just want to present some of the stats that we had for this past month. For those of you that have been to these meetings, you've heard it time and time again. I hate to report it, but it's still the same consistency with the fraud that we're having. And I'm bringing that up because that's the biggest topic on this. So last month alone, we had over $20,000 fraudulently obtained by scammers. The biggest one that I want to talk about is that a victim was contacted in regards to a PayPal where they said that they accidentally submitted $20,000 into her account, or his or her account, and ultimately they needed to send it back, and the victim sent money in total of $18,600 via Bitcoin. We chuckle about it, we think about it, but at the end of the day, we're still having people that live beside us getting fraudulently scammed. Just as in business, my biggest thing is word of mouth. If we get good businesses and we can promote good businesses, we should be able to promote good safety of being able to keep our funding. So I strongly emphasize to everybody, if you're having meetings, you're having gatherings, please talk about the scams that are going out. Spoke with one of the board members this morning. He got a text message and an email in regards to Turnpike. Turnpike's not sending out toll violations. If they are, call SunPass themselves. The sheriff's office, we're not sending out money vouchers looking for money to excuse your warrant. I promise you, we're going to come looking for the warrant, not looking for money. So please, and that goes for the banks as well. If they're texting you, it's not a professional business, and I urge you to switch banks. But also at the same time, your banking institutions, any big-time companies, they're not going to be texting you. For those of you that have iPhones, I'm not an Android fan, so I can't tell you how it comes in on Androids, but if you have an iPhone, just click junk and delete. And that literally is the best option you can do. You'll never get that from that message again, from that number, but I promise you, yesterday I spoke to the captain myself. I had 18 spam phone calls myself alone on a law enforcement phone. They don't care. They're trying to do it. They're trying to get everything they can. So please, just make sure that we're contacting our institutions. And at the very minimum, if you want to contact the sheriff's office, we'll be more than happy to look through it and verify it with you, because the last thing we want to do is have to investigate a loss of $20,000. The other thing, and I'm sure most of you probably heard about it, but we had a couple vehicle burglaries within this last month. It was right at the tail end. We are working on it. Right now we have a couple leads that we're working on. The biggest things that I want to stress is this. It's a crime of opportunity. So with that being said, people are coming by, they're checking door handles. If the car's unsecured, they're going to rummage through it, look for it, and that's ultimately how they're going to be able to obtain items. So please pass on this word. Lock your cars, take your purses, your wallets, your electronics out of the vehicle. Just something as simple as seeing a tablet laying on a car is going to motivate people to do that. And that's where I want to just make sure that we're doing what we can to remove the opportunities for them. Okeechobee and Haverhill, it's a very, very busy area. We have a lot of pedestrian traffic. We do have vagrants that we're working with, trying to relocate them and give them better assistance. And we also have a large construction site that's obviously happening, which I know you guys are all aware about. Those are all things where it's just people are gonna try and cut through, and that's where the opportunities happen. So please secure your belongings. And then I'm gonna move on to our traffic report. I'm happy to report this month, We did not have any Century Village DUIs. That's a good thing. So you guys are being responsible when you're going to your gatherings. I like it. We did have 226 traffic stops. We're continuing with a lot of high-profile traffic. 120 citations were issued, 60 written warnings, and 58 verbal warnings. So we're maintaining the traffic. We're trying to obviously keep everybody safe while they're enjoying their community. But please just make sure that we're being responsible, not consuming any chemicals that can cause us to be a little bit under the influence when we're going to our gatherings. Be responsible in that, carpool, things that we can do from that nature. But with that being said, I'd like to open up to any questions anybody might have. Yes, ma'am.
How do you make the distinction with the toll violation? Because I have received them several times, twice a day. And needless to say, it tells you they're going to restrict your registration, they're going to take your driver. I mean, it all looks and reads legit. How do we know the difference?
So that's where, the question is how do we decipher between proper toll violations or regulations that are being sent to you and fraudulent ones? The biggest thing you can do is you can call SunPass directly before you make any actions or take any actions. Now, I will tell you this. I just got one myself, but it came in actual correspondence of mail. And it showed my vehicle, it showed everything. But it came with a letterhead from SunPass, it came with the scammers are not taking the time to mail you things, because one, that costs them money. Two, if they can just try and call you, if they can send you a text message, if they can send you an email, they're not really spending any money on that. So they're not going to send you mail correspondence. But at the end of the day, call SunPass and that will decipher. And they'll tell you right then and there. They know that this is happening, and they obviously don't want you guys to be scammed. So call them directly, and they'll be able to help you out with the toll violations and explain if this is a fraudulent one or not. And we've had people call a handful of times. They got $200 worth of tolls, and they call SunPass, and they're like, yeah, no, you don't have any toll violations. And then it's ultimately from people, too, that don't even use the SunPass. They don't even use the Turnpike. So you definitely should know at that point.
We have a question in the back. Please come to the microphone. There's microphones back there, so everybody could hear your question. Yeah.
I just want to follow up with your question. If it is coming on your phone or your email, it's fake. It is fake, all right? Because like the lieutenant just said, he got 18 of them yesterday. They know that you look at it, you open it, it looks real, but the state isn't sending you anything on your phone or your email. So just think it that way. If you get it there, delete it. Don't even hit the site. Because what they do, once they get in your phone, they have the ability to go through all your information in there. Just delete it. If you don't get a hard copy from a legitimate company in your U.S. mail, don't do anything with it. I get the same amount of spam every day on my phone and my emails. And you're right, they look real. You know, they send warrants to you, they send everything to you. We don't do it that way. We don't work that way in either the state of Florida.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, good morning. A few months ago, I was going to be fraud, $200,000. I had the information where to put the money and who was asking for it. So I called the police and said, this is the information. And the answer I got was, oh, we don't do anything about this. We wait till it's done before we act on it.
I'm not sure why they would have mentioned that in that sense, but I will tell you this, is to further investigate it, we have to actually have a victim in certain cases. It doesn't mean that we're not going to look into it or put it into our databases, but it just does mean that to further investigate it, we do have to have a victim, and maybe that's what they meant. But at the end of the day, we want to document it so that we can, if there's any type of evidential leads, so that maybe not you, and good for you for not being scammed, but maybe the next person down the road that did get scammed, we do have something to run with. So we will document it in that facet, but there truly is nothing further if you've caught it ahead of time that we're going to put it into, but we will keep it for documentation purposes so that we have leads to run off of.
They didn't even ask for anything. They just said, we can't do anything. I was a little disappointed with the police department at that point.
Well, I can tell you this, and me and the captain are really big on this and big on customer service. I don't know how you guys feel about Chick-fil-A, but there's a reason why a lot of us like Chick-fil-A, and it's because of their customer service. Well, we feel the same way too, and we want customer service to be number one. So if you're not happy with the response that you're getting initially, please call back and ask for a supervisor, because we'll be more than happy to send that out and correct those issues. But if we don't get made aware of those type of situations, it's hard for us to make those corrections. So I urge you, and this goes for anybody, if you're not satisfied with anything that the sheriff's office do, please contact the sheriff's office and ask for a supervisor. We're here plenty of times. They have our contact information. We'll be more than happy to come out here and make sure that the solution that you're looking for is accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Who's next? Go ahead. Come to the microphone, Olga, please. Thank you.
I know, I'm such a nice person. Have you ever been able to retrieve any money back from these people who have been scammed?
So great question. I would say a vast majority of the time, if we can catch it and it's not a cash transaction, yes, we can obtain it back. But the institutions, the bank institutions, if they find out that it's a fraudulent transfer, like wire transfer or anything, a lot of the banks are actually, they have the insurance policies for themselves to be able to get you the funding back. If it's a cash transaction like the one that I mentioned earlier, they're taking the cash out of their bank and they're going and putting it in a Bitcoin machine, which at that point, it's almost 99.9% we are not going to be able to get those funds back once they're put into that. So it's a huge loss. The wire transfers are a little bit more, I would say if we do get scammed or fraudulently obtained, the wire transfers are a better option. The banks can assist us on that. But for the most part, it's going to be a loss of funds. I will say this, the higher the banking institution, and this happened to me last year, my bank account got hacked. A certain amount of money got pulled out of it, the bank replaced it, because they have those warnings and guidelines for themselves, and that's ultimately a part of their sales pitch. They want you to come and be a part so that your funding is secure. So to me, go with, it's not a sales pitch, but go with the higher institutions, the ones that have the backing, the ones that do what they need to, the credit cards. If you're going to utilize credit cards, go with the credit card companies that have that higher funding. If it's a run-of-the-mill Facebook message that you're getting to get a loan or do anything like that, that's where I would tell you guys to probably tread a little lightly on those.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes,
You're next.
I'm under the impression that there was a law passed a number of years ago to prevent panhandlers being at intersections. And I'm seeing an awful lot of panhandlers on the intersections and major streets.
So you're actually correct, but also at the same time, there was also stipulations put in to protect them as well, to the point where there has to be certain criteria for us to actually arrest them or move them along in that sense, because of basically and that's ultimately part of that is that's why we don't see firefighters in the middle of the intersections. When things get passed, it inhibits people from being able to do things where the firefighters were able to try to collect money for people in need. That reduced that. That's why we don't see the firefighters out there. Now, there are certain factors that, the problem is you in your community can see this happening as soon as these people are pretty smart. As soon as they see a marked patrol car or anything come along the way, they quickly move across the street or they'll move along with, so it doesn't appear. And at times, law enforcement can't always see everything, but there are things that we can do, and that's the things that we're trying to accomplish here. I can assure you that we do have a homeless intervention team that is out here looking for that. We've already got a couple concerns this morning about a camp setting up, and we already have our community policing unit basically on it and trying to help them out. And our biggest thing is not just to move them from the area, it's to try to provide them assistance so that we can get them back on their feet and provide them an opportunity to be not on the street.
Richard, you're next.
Sir, I'm over here.
There you are. I got
Do
you.
your traffic patrols have any interaction with pedestrians, often in dark clothing, walking on the main roads?
Repeat the question for me again.
Do your traffic patrols have any interactions with pedestrians, often in dark clothing, walking in the roadways?
I would say yes. If our traffic enforcement sees pedestrian violations, then absolutely. I would venture to say there's nothing in state statute that states that if you're wearing dark clothing and walking across a roadway, that gives us an option to come and violate them. I would say that's more of a common sense issue. We shouldn't be walking in dark clothing when we're crossing major intersections. But with that being said, if there's a violation for pedestrian traffic, we are able to enforce it.
Okay, thank you.
Judy, you had a question?
Statement. Walmart will definitely help.
Yeah.
Walmarts will definitely help with these fraud cases. One of my neighbors, I went to see her, and someone had gotten to her on the phone, convinced her to send money via Walmart. Another neighbor took her there. She came back home, and when they called her for the receipt number, she couldn't find it. I went to visit her, and she was just scattered all over the place. I said, "What in the world is wrong with you?" Finally, she calmed down and told me that she had gone to Walmart, paid this money, she couldn't find the receipt, da-da-da-da-da-da, and she was scared they were coming to her house. I said, well, first thing we're going to do is go back to Walmart. We went back to Walmart, made them aware of the situation. They pulled it up. It had not been accepted on the other end because they did not have the receipt that she had. And they said, well, okay, we'll go ahead and forward them. I said, no, don't forward the money. It's a fraud. We want the money back. So in that case, Walmart was definitely all over. Their security and everything made certain that she was well taken care of.
That's a great point, because all the large department stores right now, what they do is the state of Florida and everybody else, they're not going to ask you to pay with the plastic gift cards. All right? That doesn't happen. But Walmart, Target, anywhere, any Publix, if they sell it, if they see you buying a large amount, they will question you on it. So because they know that people are being subjected to all this fraud. And the lieutenant brought up something else, and I know we discussed it with at the last meeting, is the Bitcoin machines. It is not a federal or state kiosk. That is what the scammers are using it, calling it a kiosk to deposit money. All right?
Sure.
There's no Fed that's going to tell you to go to the corner gas station to deposit money to pay for a warrant or whatever else.
Any other questions?
You have a question on, ma'am, you need to come to the microphone, please. Yeah, I know.
Okay, I got two for you. About 2 years ago, I almost got ripped off through Chase. So I set up all kinds of alerts. Every time I get a text at the register telling me how much I'm spending. That's how far I went to protect myself. But now I'm getting texts from Chase saying that there's fraudulent action on my account. To click here and we'll fix it. Do not click. Call Chase, have them look at your accounts, and make sure it's legit, because it's bull. They're only texting you what you asked them to text you, and I didn't ask them to text me that. And then the other one is, right now I'm getting my license revoked from New York City because I didn't pay parking tickets, and I haven't owned a car in 4 years. So that's just another one. And these are texts with links to click on. So you don't just spam and delete. That's it. Don't even look at them.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Before we leave you, I just want to make sure that, got a question?
Two things. To the lady up top who had all the information, went to the police station. On TV, you call the FBI. They put the number on the screen, and they'll deal with you. And that's what I can tell you about that. My next question is, months ago, you guys were going to put in a satellite office on the property. What's going on with that?
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, that was a few months ago at one of our meetings.
It was somebody that was running for office that said if they became sheriff, they would have a satellite office. It wasn't their report. It was
Oh,
a candidate
okay.
for the sheriff's department.
So that's something that's not even considered, is being considered?
We can discuss it, but that's the first I've heard of it.
Okay, all right, if you can make a note of that. And when you say you're dealing with these homeless people, you're talking about the ones who set up a campsite with the queen-size bed right on? Because I called you guys, the non-emergency number, about 2 months ago, because they flipped the bed over the fence, and I'm like, what the? And they just hang out. The one guy reads a lot, so send them to the library.
Before I leave, I just want to make sure that we more or less put out there, on July 11th, the board has graciously approved and set up a meeting with the state attorney's office and our detectives in regards to these fraud cases. Any type of financial crimes, it's more of an educational presentation to try to avoid any type of potential scams. So I urge you to put it out there. I would love to see this auditorium completely filled. Anybody that investigates fraud crimes in Palm Beach County is going to be here. So, and that includes our detectives and the state attorney's office. And our biggest goal is to try to eliminate anybody from being scammed from these potential criminals. So please, July 11th, make sure we're showing up, make sure we're telling everybody so we can fill this auditorium. And if we fill up the auditorium and we have to do another class, we'll be more than happy to set up another opportunity for that. And that's our biggest thing.
Okay.
That's a good question.
I believe it's going to be at 11:30. It'll be after the Delegate Assembly. July 4th, there's no Delegate Assembly. We moved it to the 11th. But it's already out there. I believe it's on channel 591. I believe that, 590. It's been in Donald's report.
Okay. I believe we got 2 more questions.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. What Sue is describing is Sue works at a very important project called PBSO Seniors versus Crime program. This is available to you at the UCO office every Wednesday after UCO closes at 12 o'clock. And a lot of these fraud cases, scams, can be dealt with there. So if you find yourself having a problem like that, please come and see Sue and her colleagues at the UCO office. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
There's your bar.
3 weeks ago, some people assisted me in spending my money. I called the bank, and I said that somebody's helping me spend my money. The bank not only gave me that money back, but they tracked that money back and got their money back. You can call your bank and tell them it's going on. They not only will help you, they will give you your money that you've lost if you do it promptly. Okay?
Good information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you this afternoon. Thank you. I need a motion to accept the minutes in a second. Motion made by Joyce, seconded by Sandy Levine. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Yes, I have a correction, Fausto. In the LCAM section, it says LCAM Foster has received 3 proposals for the South Canal redredging. That is incorrect. We have not received any proposals yet, and that's the job of our project manager, engineer. So we're working on it, but we don't have them yet. Thank you.
Are there any other corrections? The minutes will be accepted as corrected. Thank you. We're going to run a short meeting today because there's another meeting at 11 o'clock. They're going to need a half hour or so to set up. So I'm going to go right to the treasurer's report.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see so many of our
Excuse me.
Associations
We do have a quorum, by the way. We have 119 delegates.
19, thank you. A very short comment today. You'll see at the end of the financial report that I'm starting to include the accounts receivable again, meaning the list of those associations who are not current in their bills. We've been working very, very hard with particularly Seacrest because they've had issues that we're all aware of. But we know where every one of those issues is, and we're working very hard. You'll see that it's practically nothing at this point. There is one association that has a very large balance, and it's not Seacrest related. So we are going to work on that. They don't have that management company. They don't all have the same management company. But if you have any problems, any issues, please come into the office. I'm not going to be there today, but otherwise, most office hours, I'm there. So I'm happy to talk to anybody about any of these issues. And I'm going to leave it at that unless someone has a question for me. And that's it. Thank you.
If there's something that I put into Yuko Reporter, please read it. If you are not a Seacrest or Pruitt and you've changed management company, you need to notify Yuko who your management company is and who their contact person, so we can bill them your quarterly payments. So make sure, and the person to contact is Joanne. Ruth, quick on the Yuko Reporter, please.
Thank you, Fausto. Good morning, everybody. I'll make it very short because I know we need a short meeting. From January until May, we are ahead $3,934. However, I find that figure is going down. We need more ads, so please, if you go to places, try to get us ads. Other than that, happy Father's Day, and we'll see you next month on the 11th.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to turn it over to Donald now, our property manager.
Morning, everyone. I'll try to make this brief. It's the first rule of project property and community management. If something bad's going to happen, it's going to be on Christmas Eve or when I'm on vacation. And I was on vacation last week, so I got a couple things. First thing is, you've heard about the vehicle break-ins in the Kingswood, Bedford, and Greenbrier sections. Obviously, PBSO is all over this. They've got patrols, and they got detectives working on it. On our end, obviously, we've increased patrols in those sections. The sites have been surveyed for new camera locations, so very shortly there'll be more video cameras on the sections that abut the Reflection Bay property. And finally, Yuko has made contact with the owners of the construction site, Reflection Bay. I'll follow up on that later today. They need to start bringing security onto that property as they promised. All right, so that's all I have for that. Over the past week, we've received reports, and Eva as well, about fish deaths in the lakes. It's a fish die-off. There's a couple of things going on there. First is no rain. The water is very hot, and algae is blooming, and it's starving the fish of oxygen. The company that takes care of our lakes is doing their best to manage that, but really what will solve the problem is rain, which will dilute what's feeding the algae and also cool off the water. Now, the fish that you've seen floating in the lakes, most of them are an invasive species called a peacock bass. This is a South American river fish that is not tolerant of heat. So it's actually, the ones that we've seen dead so far, it's actually not a bad thing that they are, but they're disgusting. Finally, today, right after this meeting, we're going to have a short break, and then there's going to be a presentation from Florida DBPR, the Department of Professional and Business Regulations, and the presentation will be Unit Owner Rights and Responsibilities. This is a 1-hour follow-up to the condo class that all of you had to take for 4 hours. I hope you'll stay for that because I think it'll be a good thing, good meeting. Finally, next month, we're going to have 2 presentations after the Delegate Assembly, which will be, by the way, on the second Friday, on the 11th. The first is well, it's going to be fraud. PBSO and the state attorney's office are coming in specifically to talk to you about how to prevent fraud. So I hope you'll all be there for that. And that's all I have for this month, unless you guys have any work for me. Thank you.
Do we have any unfinished business? Do we have any unfinished business? Do we have any new business? No new business, okay. Could we have an update on the La Quinta, please?
Good morning, everyone. I have a PowerPoint prepared. I think the screen is going to drop, and we'll get that going. But as we get that ready, my name is Eric McClellan, as your agenda indicates. I serve as the Director of the Strategic Planning Division for the county's Facilities Development and Operations Department. Very long title, yes, I know. Hopefully, I don't look like a complete stranger to everybody. I have been part of previous staff presentations to you on other county projects, but this morning I am actually substituting for our department director and assistant county administrator, Isami Ayala Colazo, who after this appearance was scheduled had an unexpected family obligation.
I know.
Okay, this is not the presentation. Oh, this is a different one. So, yeah,
No.
you're not.
La Quinta?
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be able to do the PowerPoint.
Okay. We'll walk through a verbal version then. That's fine.
Thank you.
Sure. So with that said, I want to start by a couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, I was going to have a slide that would show you a website where you could actually access the presentation. I'll still make that available, I guess, through Donald, so that you can access it. And also, at the conclusion, we're going to have some time for questions and answers. We certainly want to make sure any questions or comments are taken into account. So I want to introduce the team, because now that this project's getting a little more real, you're going to see us more frequently, and I want you to know who we are. I introduced myself, again, with Facilities Development and Operations. We tend to be the dirt, the bricks and mortar side of county projects and facilities. So let me start first by introducing Purvi Bagaita, who is the director of our Property and Real Estate Management Division, and she is the point of contact for the county, working directly with the property owner to close the sale. Also joining me, we have the department's deputy director, Jason Crosby. And we also have Gilbert Morales, who is the director of the Division of Electronics and Security for the department. So certainly sure you'll take interest in that. We also have some colleagues from the Community Services Department. I consider them to be more the soft side of service delivery, the human element. Representing them, we have Tammy Fields, who is an assistant county administrator and oversees that department at a high level. The day-to-day operations are overseen by Dr. James Green. He's the department director. And I have not seen Taruna, okay? So we will skip those. So that's who we are. Wanted to make sure first and foremost you know who we are so that we're not complete strangers to you. To give you a little background, in March of this year, the Board of County Commissioners did grant approval of the acquisition of the La Quinta property. So staff is currently working towards the closing on that acquisition. And the purpose of the acquisition, as I'm sure you've heard and been told before, is so that we can convert that hotel operation into a rental facility that will remain county-owned for seniors and veterans in need of housing. With that approval, the board and Commissioner Weiss, your district commissioner in particular, included 3 distinct directives that staff is following up on. One of those is to provide periodic updates to the neighboring communities, and specifically Century Village. Hence why we're here, hence why we thank Donald for making the arrangement. We thank you all for allowing us to be here, and hopefully you'll permit us to continue to be here periodically. Another one of the directives was to coordinate with the Sheriff's Office to complete what's known as a crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED analysis. That might be a new concept to some of you. So another term that's sometimes used for that is defensible space. You heard in the PBSO presentation, crimes of opportunity. And what a SEPTED analysis is it looks at the built environment and it looks to eliminate crimes of opportunity. So I'm going to touch a little bit more on that topic here in a couple minutes, but that was one of the directives. And the other directive was for staff to prepare a legal document that would restrict the use of the facility for senior and veteran supportive housing, so that the purchase would be for a very limited and specific purpose. In terms of the acquisition, I'm sure most people in this room have gone through a real estate transaction at some point in time, so you know it's much more than just making the decision to purchase, getting a check, showing up, signing papers, and turning over your check. There's other things involved. So even though we were authorized to move forward with the acquisition, there are steps in process that have to be completed before the county can become the owner. Let me give you some examples. A survey of the property had to be completed so that we know the boundaries, the limits of the property that the county is acquiring. We had to perform an environmental analysis, make sure there's no contaminations or other instances in the history of this property that could expose the county to any kind of risk or liability, or that could be a concern to residential occupants of the property. A title review, looking at all things of record, all easements, all encumbrances, anything that would affect the title to the property, standard practice, and that's been ongoing. And we also, through that, identified that there were some historic building permits still open by the current property owner that need to be closed out by the owner before we can complete closing. And of course, we're also identifying any tax responsibilities, any other fees that might be due by that current property owner before the county takes ownership. So based upon the current trajectory, everything that's in process, things have been completed, we're expecting to be in a position to close on the property by the end of this month. Does not mean occupancy is going to start right away, and I'm going to take a couple minutes to explain why. First, let me go back to the SEPTED analysis, because I know there's interest in security and crime prevention, regardless of the facility we're talking about. At this point in time, PBSO has completed their on-site analysis. They have completed their written report, and that report is currently being reviewed. And the next step for us will be for Gilbert, again, in charge of security, to meet with PBSO, go through that report, go through that analysis, and identify the things that need to be action items for the county to do before we commence our operations. I know there's interest that has been expressed in getting a copy of that report. That is something, there are various plans, documents, reports that are not public record under Florida statute. Because essentially what a report of this nature would convey is vulnerabilities on the property. And we don't want that to get into the wrong hands, because when it's out of our control, it is no longer under our control. So an example, just for the sake of discussion, and Gilbert will shut me down if I'm conveying too much information, one of the principles in SEPTED crime prevention is good lines of sight. You want to be able to have very good visibility across the site. Sometimes there'll be vegetation, landscaping that's overgrown, that's too mature. Limbs need to be trimmed, things of that nature. That's what that report will identify, and the county will commit to undertaking the work as part of the action plan responding to that report. I mentioned that staff was directed to prepare a legal document restricting the use of the property. The formal term is a Declaration of Restrictive Covenants, or a DRC. And those of you who have lived in HOA communities, maybe even here perhaps, you're probably accustomed to declarations and covenants. So pursuant to the direction, staff has drafted that document, and we will submit that for approval by the county commission after the county assumes ownership. Obviously, we can't cloud the title and apply it to the current owner. We need to wait until we are the legal owner. So we will be advancing that for approval. And there's a couple of things specifically that document will state. One is that the property shall be used solely to provide supportive housing for eligible seniors and veterans aged 55 and older. I've heard some rumblings, some concerns that county's not going to practice this. Oh, we are, and we're putting this document, prepared it for board approval to put into the public record so it's very clear. And once it's in place, the only body that'll be able to change that would be the Board of County Commissioners. Also, I said eligible. One of the core criteria to be eligible is you have to be a Palm Beach County resident. This is not open to all our surrounding counties. We are not marketing this as a means to attract anyone from out of the area. You have to be a county resident, and proof of residency that's acceptable to the county will have to be demonstrated prior to being granted permission to occupy. So one other reason why you won't see occupancy right away is because there is some work, construction work, improvements that the county intends to do in order to convert this from a commercial operation into a more conventional residential environment. There is no real, what I would call heavy construction, hard construction. You're not going to see a bunch of equipment and tractors and things like that on the property. Probably nothing that's going to generate a lot of noise. Largely, it's cosmetic in nature. Because before we entered into or had the board grant approval to proceed with the purchase, we did a full assessment. So we know what we're getting into, and we're fairly impressed with the condition and the upkeep of this property. So most of the work that needs to be done is really cosmetic, I would say, in nature. One of the things that is not cosmetic is the existing pool that is at the hotel. We're not looking to operate a resort community. We don't want the maintenance and upkeep associated with the pool. So we will be filling in the pool and working with a professional architect, engineer, and design team to figure out the best way to accomplish that, and essentially converting that area of the property into a seating area, if you will. There's various exterior and interior painting that we need to complete. We will install the typical county data line so that internet access and other electronic access is possible from the property. And then once the commercial operation has ceased, we intend to test and perform any repairs to all the building systems, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, things of that nature. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to accomplish all of that. One thing we've done to get ahead is if any of you have experience in government, period, but especially government construction, you know there's a lot of paperwork to do. There's policy, there's process, and there's procedure, and it doesn't happen overnight. So we've started working on that, developing the contracts to do some of this work prior to taking ownership so that once we do own the property, we'll be ready to hit the ground running so that there's not an extended delay before we do convert the property into its intended use and start occupying rooms. Another item I wanted to touch on is what we call wraparound services, and these are the human side of the facility and its operation, day to day. Medical services, food services, tending to the property itself. And while the county is accustomed to performing that role for non-residential facilities, a residential facility really is not our specialty. It's not our scope of work. So we are looking to partner in this case with the Palm Beach County Housing Authority, because who would know better about operating a public housing facility and building than them? So in attendance with me today, we have their executive director and CEO, who is Carol Jones-Gilbert, if you would stand and be acknowledged. So again, a face that you should become familiar with, because she will be our partner through this. We're currently negotiating a contract for them to be the day-to-day service provider on site, if you will. And that too will require approval by the Board of County Commissioners, which will likely occur in either August or September, depending upon the pace of completing that contract. Initially, the Community Services Department staff will be interacting with the guests, the residents, to make sure their case management needs are being met. And the hope is that they incubate that, and eventually it turns into relationships with other service providers, just like we've done at other facilities that the county owns. I think that covers that one. Community outreach. As I said earlier, that was a board directive. We are hopeful that we could attend this meeting perhaps every other month, just to provide an update, provide a status. We don't want to be a mystery neighbor. We want you to know what's going on. We want you to know what we've done. We want you to know what's coming up. We want to be available to you to continue to answer questions, hear any concerns, any comments you have, so that we are being a good neighbor for you. And then once the site does go into operation as a housing facility, we're committed, so long as you're willing and everyone is agreeable, to continue to attend meetings. So that, again, we're not just a passive neighbor. We're here. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure we're being a good neighbor. Next was the information resources, how you can get this presentation. Again, I'm going to share that with Donald, make sure you're all aware of the website. Community input. Want to turn it over, see if anybody has any questions that haven't been answered today, any lingering items that we might be able to address before this meeting closes and we make the room available for the next meeting. We do ask a couple rules of engagement, if you will. First and foremost, respect and decorum. Staff is here to hear from you, to answer questions. We're not making any critical decisions today, so please keep that in mind. Also, brevity. This is not a session of Congress. We don't need any filibustering. If you do have a comment or want to ask a question, please be courteous and limit yourself to 2 to 3 minutes, tops, if possible. And lastly, anything that we can answer today, we will answer here while we are here. We might not have all answers today, so anything we can't answer, we will commit to follow up. So with that, I would like to turn the floor over to you.
Irene, you have a question in the back?
I do. Before the sale went through, or the approval went through, I read in, I don't know, something in writing that we want to make it one big happy family to share facilities and between the residents at La Quinta and those of Century Village. I don't think people want that. So
We hear you loud and clear then. We'll stay separated. One of the comments I made is on the residency restriction and limitation, 55 or older. And that was a directive to basically address compatibility. We heard some concerns with youth and younger folks living right outside the gates of Century Village. That restriction is precisely why we were given the directive. Compatibility. Let's keep like people in the same local area. So hopefully that speaks to a little bit to your comment.
okay, and you said the,
Irene, if you don't mind, just to directly answer your question, there will be no shared amenities with this new project. Those amenities belong to you. You pay for them.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The Board of Commissioners, you said that it's been, documented and put in writing that it'll be for veterans and senior citizens. And it was the Board of Commissioners who sold us out at the last minute. They knew completely that the residents here did not want this thing. And yet, so what's to say? You say, well, the Board of Commissioners say it's going to be this, until they change their minds. Not trusting.
I'm certainly not a county commissioner. I can't speak for the county commission, but I can tell you when they make a commitment and they tie it to an approval, it's in the record, it's documented, it's clear why they're doing it. So it would take the will of another future board to overturn that. And you would all have a voice. You're all voters. We're in a democracy. You will have an opportunity to voice your opinion. Staff, it would be our responsibility to explain why that restriction was put in place in the first place. We'll tell the story. We'll make sure it's known. We'll make sure your concerns are heard. But I cannot tie the hands of any elected official or a future county commission.
Richard?
Richard, you're next.
You mentioned eligibility. What besides residents? Will there be interviews? Will there veterans record, criminal record, drug use, previous employment, so
You have a
on and so
microphone on the
forth?
left. Okay.
I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Green to respond to that question.
Good morning. James Green, Director for the Palm Beach County Community Services Department. Yes, so we do have a comprehensive screening form that we will be utilizing once we receive referrals, and many of the things that you just mentioned are definitely on that screening form. So before the referrals are even made to the Housing Authority, we will have a process in place to make sure that they are prevention, meaning they're not people that are homeless or on the streets. They're people who are calling us or calling the area agency on aging, saying, hey, my condo fees went up, or I'm about to get an eviction because the property owner has raised my rent beyond what I can pay, and a number of other circumstances that may lead to seniors and veterans becoming unsheltered, and we want to prevent that. And so we will have a comprehensive list of screening questions that we'll go through prior to the referrals being made. And those questions are going to be vetted through Fair Housing and through the county attorney's office.
Mary, you had a question?
Is it going to be a gated community? No. And is there going to be parking?
No, it will not be gated. It'll remain as it is today. Parking, we don't intend to change the supply of parking that's on the site today. The quantity of parking, I don't recall the exact number. It's probably somewhere around 120, 130 parking spaces. We don't anticipate having any parking issue. To build upon that, I think you're going a little bit into the question of security. We will have on-site security personnel. The county has roving security personnel to cover all of our facilities, and we also partner with the sheriff's office. They'll be well aware of the county's ownership and operation here, so we're going to have security well covered.
One, I think it's very foolish to fill in a pool. These people are going to be elderly. A pool is a social gathering setting. And, I mean, it would give them something to do. My thoughts, my feeling. But anyway, I'd like to know, what are you doing to the rooms? Are they going to have a kitchenette? Are they going to be cooking in this room? What's the setup? What's the game plan? And what about, I mean, it's going to have how is the room set up? Are they on their own? That then we're not feeding them, the whole 9 yards. How is this whole facility going to be set up? Because I'm not believing a word you're saying.
Sure, respect that and appreciate that. First, the pool, again, entirely understand your perspective. The decision to fill that in and not operate it as a pool is strictly a liability and risk issue for the county, for the taxpayers. It's not a public pool where there's going to be a lifeguard on duty. So we see that as a real risk to personal health, safety, and welfare, which we will never risk in any facility we operate. In terms of the structure of the facility, it's effectively going to be operated as what a lot of people would know it as a single-room occupancy. So we're purchasing it fully furnished. We're taking it as is, all the furniture. And it'll basically be a rental arrangement. Each individual or couple will have an assigned room. So it's not a congregate type of facility. It will be assigned specifically to a room. In terms of meal service, there will be the provision of meals from the facility. They'll likely be staggered in shifts so that everybody's not, coming all at once down to the first floor to have a meal. So services will be provided because there are no individual kitchenettes currently in the units.
Mr. McClure? Yeah, and in addition to that, in terms of activities, we currently operate 3 senior centers throughout the county, and there are a number of activities that they participate in. We'll be leveraging some of the programming from our senior centers and from our community partners and bringing them there, so they will have things to do to keep them occupied and to improve the quality of their life.
I have a question. Would you consider putting a civilian review board to help you manage the place? To oversee the people that are being put in, so to be truly transparent?
Sure. In most of our properties with the Palm Beach County Housing Authority, we have what's called a resident council, and we have a resident advisory board that attends most of our meetings when we're deciding on policy and procedures. So I don't see that that's not something that could be done at this building, so that we're getting the input of the residents and they're getting their feedback to us. So I think that's doable.
That wasn't,
That's
I'm
not
not
what you're
talking about a
asking?
tenants committee. I'm talking about someone outside, not vested, to oversee how the building is being taken care of and to make sure that the policies are being followed.
Okay, that would be up to the county. We're doing the property management services. I don't have any problem with anyone coming in to see how we operate our business. This is what we do. So we're used to oversight by HUD, by elected officials, by county officials, so that wouldn't be a problem for us.
Niels, I have a question for you. Is there a citizens advisory committee that covers something like this, similar to what I do with SWA?
No, there's not. So for this individual facility, I don't think it's feasible to have involvement from outside parties in how we run it. I mean, obviously, it is going to be overseen by the county. You also know that, I mean, they're going to be here every other meeting. I'm here every meeting. And you all know how to get a hold of me. So if there is anything of concern, you know how to get a hold of me, and we'll deal with it. So I just want to be... I want everyone to know that we're not going anywhere, and we're going to be very responsible about managing this stuff. And if anything is wrong, you come to us, and we'll deal with it. So again, and they're here now. They'll be here every other meeting. So I just want you guys to really be comfortable with it.
I have a question. Yes, I have a question. My experience has been that the county has been strictly enforcing application of results from traffic studies. I've spent a considerable time going in and out, dealing with the issue of traffic. Long-range plans, I know there are some other developments that are on the horizon near our entrance. Has the county done due diligence of a traffic study in order to make sure that there is not some kind of congestion or dangers inherent in adding this kind of activity? Has a traffic, I noticed in the list of things that you did not do a traffic study to satisfy yourselves. Have you studied flow of traffic and how it will be handled?
It's been looked at informally. And I say that because currently the traffic that's assigned is affiliated with a commercial hotel operation. We compare that to traffic generation rates associated with a governmental facility, and it's based upon number of rooms. We're not changing the number of rooms. The intensity of the facility is essentially staying the same.
Well, for conversation's sake, it is already an issue. The traffic that's coming in basically from the west, trying to become part of our traffic flow. The developments that are being discussed for the future will be coming in from the east. What are we going to do with that congestion?
I think at this point, and to underscore Eric's point, the current use, the La Quinta Hotel generates more trips, more cars, more peak hour trips and more daily trips than the proposed use. So if anything, there's going to be, if once this change is implemented, there's going to be less traffic, not more traffic. Now, that is not to say that it's not a cluster over there. I agree with you, because there is, first of all, we have Okeechobee Boulevard, which is one of the busiest stretches of roadway in Palm Beach County. We have the road that runs parallel to it, which is a privately owned road, which is not always well maintained. And I do share your concerns, not particularly with the conversion of the La Quinta, but I do share it when the county is going to allow a developer to build senior housing on the 6.37 acres just east of the UCO building. That's going to, then we're going to see additional trips, and then I think it would be really come to the forefront, and we should, we'll have to figure something out. But at this point, I think, if anything, it's going to be better, not worse.
I hear a term that's comforting to me, and that is you've calculated the trips. But even at the present level, there is some issue when we come to that intersection, and I just want to make sure that it's being addressed.
Understood, yeah. And in development world, when you're constructing something new, you have to take into account the existing conditions, what's committed in the future already, and build upon that. So like Niels was saying, when we talk about the potential future development of the vacant property, we will have to take all that into account. In this particular case, it's basically just a wash. It's going from one operation to another, and the two really have a very similar traffic generation rate.
Can we improve on the situation now? There are no signals, there's no direction signs. Can we do something to improve that?
We will certainly be happy to assess the operations once it goes into full operation. Anything we need to do to address safety, operational efficiency, yes, we'll commit to take a look at that.
Please do, I'll be looking for it.
One thing also, the county is just about to take to the county commission for approval an overall traffic master plan for the county, a global look at transportation, seeing if there might be alternatives that can be implemented in the future. There really is no quick fix when we talk about traffic. I'll be honest with you, there is not. But it is something that's at the forefront of the county's thoughts, and we're looking for the future and starting to plan for the future.
Okay. This is going to be the last one, because we got 10:30 deadline.
I'm curious as to what is the occupancy for these units? Are they 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms? I've stayed at La Quinta, and you say each one has a kitchenette. It does not. Okay, tell me, break it down to me. 1, 2, or 3?
James, do you want to respond to your occupancy?
Yes, so each one of the rooms, at least one person can be in the room, but if there is a couple, there are double beds, queen-size beds in some of the rooms. And so I don't anticipate there being more than 2 people in a room, but most of them will only have 1. So it's somewhat like an efficiency. They do have a microwave, they have a refrigerator. There's even space in many of the rooms for a couch, bed. They have their own bathrooms, closet. So it's like a mini efficiency. And so they can warm up food in the microwave and do some of those things. But our intent is to open a meal site similar to what we have in 14 different areas throughout the county, including our senior centers. And so we'll have volunteers and staff there to staff the meal sites. And if they want to partake in the meals, those will be available. If not, then they'll be free to bring meals from, if they want to Uber meals in or go to a restaurant and eat. There are plenty of restaurants around as well.
Okay.
I'm
I'm going to have to stop you. I'm going to have to stop you.
Okay.
I have one more person I have to recognize. If you have an individual question while they're setting up for the next meeting, you can talk personally, all right? All right, in the lobby or over here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Gina Ward is here. Come on up, Gina. She's from our tax assessor's office.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Gina Ward. Correction, I'm from the clerk's office of Palm Beach County. No, you're good. I think Amy was supposed to be here, but I think she's not here this morning. But just want to quickly just remind you all that, we are seeing a rise in, through our records regarding like scammers. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to sign up for our property fraud alert. We are the record keeper of Palm Beach County, so any forms, mortgages, deeds, and other county records come to us, and we will alert you guys via a phone call or in your email as well. So just want to remind you guys, and I'll place some information at the reception area for how to sign up as well.
Sure, go ahead.
So just wanted to provide real quick a couple of updates. Earlier this week, we put out some information about a county program where we have, for eligible seniors, there's help when their HVAC system is broken. The deadline has been extended to June 16th. And I know there are lots of people in here who might want to go after those dollars. So the deadline is extended to June 16th. 2 other quick things. The flexible delineators on Haverhill Road near the entrance to Century Village, they were put in about a year and a half ago, I think, after people were making illegal U-turns into the Aloha a residential place across the street. The county staff was supposed to build a raised median. Thank you, Dr. Handelsman, for reminding me. The raised median, construction on that will start before October this year. Lastly, the bus stop on Haverhill. So there's a bus stop, but there's no shelter. That is a priority. It should have already been done. It hasn't been, but next year there will be a shelter constructed at the bus stop on Haverhill Road, and that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We are at the good of the order. What you got, Les? Come to the microphone so everybody could hear you, please.
Les Rivkin, Stratford J. I'm president of the Democratic Club, and we talked about people in need. We are sponsoring a food drive, which is ongoing Monday through Friday. Bring your food to the clubhouse. It'll be stored. The food drive ends the 19th of June. Thank you for your help.
I need a motion to adjourn, please. Okay, Olga Wilkenstein and who else? Sandy Levine. Okay, thank you. They're going to set up for the meeting for starts at 11 o'clock.